think about your childhood, you might not remember as much as what happened before the age of 7. Well, the truth is, just because we don't remember the memories of our life, it does not mean we forgot them or they got erased. The mind registers everything without conscious attention, and the brain has a super elegant system of how it stores it all. Now, you are much more likely to remember the emotion of the memory more than the memory itself, simply because emotion is what anchors the experience physically. And emotion is neutral energy in motion until we give it context with our thoughts. Let me give you an example of what I mean. When I was little, I was getting sick a lot. The first few years of my life I actually spent in the hospital. I was small and fragile, I had heart defects and my nervous system didn't function properly. I was very prone to infections and viruses and all sorts of other things. And my mum, she began to take extra care of me, and she tells me how precious I was until this day. And I remember a memory from when I was about 3. My sister, who was 8 at the time, she fell over with me, holding me in her hands. I didn't get hurt, but my mum panicked and began to shout. And my sister got scared, and so did I. And although fear and panic weren't the emotions I was yet familiar with, they became the indicator for me that this isn't safe. And because I grew up in a very anxious and fearful environment overall, I became addicted to these emotions. I made the feeling unsafe familiar. Because our body does something very smart. It releases hormones in response to emotions. In this case of fear, it releases adrenaline. My adrenal glands became so familiar with releasing tons of adrenaline during any time I had any fear response, to the point where I automatically was drawn to creating stressful situations in my life. So when I became an adult, I started seeking drama, instability in every aspect of my life, my partners, friendships, my job, my home, until I developed full-blown anxiety disorder by age 20. And you might be wondering if this was a coincidence. No. There are no coincidences in this universe, and the laws of the mind are very simple. The more times the mind is exposed to something it is already familiar with, the more it believes that to be the reality. It's simply an evolutionary process we learned to survive, which is why the second law of the mind is the mind only seeks for what is familiar and rejects everything that is unfamiliar. So until the age of 7, our brain is what we call in psychology only subconscious. There is no conscious choice or decision-making process, which means as children, we make associations instantly and we don't ask any questions if something is good or bad for us. We simply accept. And as we develop, the subconscious mind becomes the place where the collection of all of our life stories stay in the background of the conscious mind or the office mind, which is like the aware or the thinking mind, as we call it. So if you were told off a lot to be quiet, or you were shut off from the self-expression in any shape or form by anyone, then what becomes familiar is narratives like, my voice doesn't need to be heard, or no one wants to hear what I have to say. Or if you had a parent who couldn't be present during the years of your growing up for whatever reason, then you might have narratives such as, I'm unlovable, I must not be rejected. So, what you saw and what you heard and what you learned and what you felt and smelt and tasted and how you were dressed and how you were treated and expected to be became the foundation for your life.